Hello and welcome to Health Scan on the Andalus television. My name is Fitoun Sati and with me in the studio is Mr. Gerard Kielty. Hello, Gerard.
Hello, once again.
Once again. It seems this is our last program, number 13. We have to, I hope we have enough time to cover more subjects than the previous programs.
We've covered so much stuff when you think about it, haven't we?
Yes,
throughout the full series of 13 half-hour programs. We've had an incredible response too, haven't we?
Yes.
Thank you, by the way, you know, for showing your support for what we do. We've had a lot of that, a lot of wonderful support from all sorts of people at all levels in medicine and the public, of course, you, the viewer. You have a right to be healthy, so use it. Don't just sit back and plod on and be taking pills all the time for things you don't need to do that with. Talk to the people who can make the decisions. Get them to contact me. Let's get something moving here. Let's cure people. Let's make you healthy. Let's make your children healthy and your grandchildren and generations to come. This is the start of something new. So get involved.
Okay, I'm going to read again some of these health problems, not all of them, that you cures with your scanning system for food intolerance. Nausea, loss of confidence, epilepsy, asthma, coughing, sleep problem, arthritis, lack of concentration, diarrhea, bloated stomach, constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, eczema, hay fever, tinnitus,
ringing in the ears.
Yeah, tinnitus, memory, lethargy, snoring, mood swings, weight problems, excessive sweating, thrush, vomiting, eye sensitivity, leg and mouth ulcers, heartburn, blood pressure, hot flushes, dermatitis, irritability, athlete foot, libido, catarrh, depression, hyperactivity, dizziness, colitis, Crohn's disease, stress, premenstruation tension, cramp, hemorrhoids, palpitation, panic attacks, sciatica, gout, loss of sense of smell, sinusitis, and sneezing.
You've had to rush through those because there's so many of them.
Yeah, we always run out of time.
We do, and that's the worst part of all. We have so much to talk about, but this is just to give people a quick idea of what we do. We've done this before many times, but if we don't talk about the things we can cure, then how do you know what we can cure? We need to get this information out, and that's why we do this. It's very, very important that you know how we can help you and what sort of health problems we can cure. So that's why she's done this, and obviously rushing through it.
Yes.
It's not easy for you or for them, but it's worth it.
Well, would you briefly explain how your system works to remind the viewers?
Again, we've been through this two or three times over the series, but I'll just briefly cover it, what we do and why and how it works. First of all, Health Scan has a computer that can talk to your brain. By connecting the probe to your finger, but gently pressing on your finger. There's no pain, there's no blood, it's non-invasive, as we call it. It's just a little bit of pressure. It's not acupuncture, it's acupressure. And I scan 4-year-old children without any problems of any kind. So there's no signals, there's no wires, there's no shocks. There's nothing to worry about. It's the easiest thing in the world. But when I press here, I can connect my computer on my desk to your computer up here, through an acupuncture point that leads to your brain, a meridian, an electrical pathway. There's nothing weird about it. And I can send signals for the foods, or the drugs as I call them, because that's what they are. I can send those signals that your brain would get if you eat that drug called banana, tomato, cheese or whatever. I can send those signals to your brain. Same signals it would receive. And I can measure your brain's acceptance of that signal. So if your brain doesn't want it, we'll get feedback from your brain. And if your brain doesn't want it, well, don't eat the food that gives it the signal. And then your brain won't send out wrong signals that cause all these health problems. It's just like like any other computer. If you put the wrong signals in, you get the wrong signals out. It's so logical when you think about it. It's as simple as that.
Lots of people, Gerard, get confused between allergy test and food intolerance test. What is the difference?
Yes, you'll notice when we've read lots of letters throughout the series, and some will probably read today, that people say they've been for an allergy test.
Exactly.
Whether it's at Health Scan or anywhere else. But what we do is we test for intolerance to food. Intolerance.
Yes.
And intolerance occurs in the brain. It's electrical resistance in the brain, which I've just described to the viewers.
Mm.
We're measuring resistance in an electrical circuit. That is your nervous system. Whereas an intolerance, whereas an allergy occurs in a different department of the body. An allergy occurs in the immune system, which is chemistry. And your glands kick out chemistry.
Yes.
We have major glands. We have glands under the arms. We have glands between the legs. We have glands behind the base of the skull. We have many more, but they're the big ones. And that's how our body, our brain sends out signals to make these release chemicals to protect the body. If we get a bug into our bloodstream, for example, that bug needs to be killed off before it can get to our heart or our liver or other vital organs. So these glands are just little containers with chemicals in them. They send out the chemicals that kill off the bugs. But that's an allergic response. That's a chemical reaction. But what we're doing at HealthScan is nothing to do with that. What we're doing is we're testing to see if your brain wants an electrical signal, and that's happening in your nervous system. This stuff down here is your immune system, which is a different department altogether. But unless this computer's running properly, then how can this run properly? Because this computer runs your body. So once we get that brain working properly, all sorts of problems just clear up, disappear, gone. So you don't need medicines or anything else. You get on with your life and be healthy.
That's fantastic, yes. What do the doctors think about your work, Gerard?
What do doctors think about my work?
Yes.
That's a very good question. It depends which doctors you're talking about, I suppose. There's a lot of doctors in the world that don't like what I do, obviously, because it's something that counteracts what they do or crosses into their particular world. But what they should be happy with, in fact, an awful lot of doctors are happy with what I do too. A lot of doctors come to me with their health problems around the world.
Right.
You'd be amazed the amount of doctors I've treated for health problems, not only in far-flung places like the Middle East or Marbella, Spain or whatever, where I spend a lot of time, but in Harley Street. Now, the doctors in Harley Street are supposed to be the top in the world. Supposed to be. So why would they come to me to be cured? So the doctors, if a doctor cannot cure himself or herself, how can they cure you? And doctors do get health problems, I can assure you. You've only got to look at them in most cases, you can see that. So whether they like what I do or whether they don't is their choice. I'm not really that bothered, you know. I think the ones that don't like it are very silly because it works and it's the way forward.
Exactly, yes.
And it gives the results that people are looking for. So they shouldn't be arguing with it. In fact, they should be very happy with it.
Exactly, they should use it.
Well, they're doctors. They're paid to make people healthy.
Yes.
And if they can't do it and I can, then they should be saying, well, hang on a minute, this guy should be, you know, we should be looking at this guy and maybe learning from him. This technology was developed by doctors.
There you are.
So why would doctors not want to know?
Yes.
Because in most cases they are blind, blinkered, as I say. They can only look forwards. They can only look at what they've been taught to do, and that's prescribed medication. They mustn't look sideways or they're in trouble. In fact, I've had one doctor being threatened, a consultant, being threatened with dismissal from the hospital for sending me patients. And I cured the patients all the time. That's why the consultant was investigated, threatened with dismissal. It's crazy. They should be encouraged to use this technology by the people who run the medical world. But unfortunately, the people who run the medical world are very much the drug companies.
Well, there you are.
So there lies the problem. An awful lot of doctors I've met over the years would love to use it, but they say they can't, one reason or another. It's used mostly in private practice.
I see.
The doctors, they can make up their own minds what they do.
Yes, yes.
But it should be in every hospital in the world.
It should be, I think it should be,
and then the problems would, 80% of the problems wouldn't be there. So the doctors and the nurses and the money could be put to better use.
Well, that's something else, yeah. Okay, depression, how is that related to food intolerance?
Well, if you go to the doctor with depression, you're going to come out with a box of tablets, or something to spray up somewhere or whatever and rub on or something or other.
Yes.
Again, they're trying to treat the problem as it developed, rather than finding the cause of the problem. It's very easy to become depressed. All you've got to do is poison your brain. And you're doing that. Everybody's doing that. They're doing it every day. You've been doing it every day of your life. And at certain points in your life, your brain will start to give you problems. And if depression is one of them, then you're depressed. And it's very hard to be happy and jovial and full of life, and because you're going down instead of up. Let me just read you a couple of letters that we have. Again, depression is just one thing that people come in with. There'll be a bunch of things in almost every case. Nobody comes in saying I'm depressed. There'll always be 2 or 3 or half a dozen other problems going with it. Like this person had sleep problems, stomach problems, panic attacks and depression. I came to your clinic on January the 30th, 1999 for a food allergy test, suffering from the above problems. I am pleased to tell you that the diet has helped a great deal and I no longer take medication. So all these health problems have disappeared. I don't need the medication anymore. I feel much better and healthier. I was recommended to see you by my daughter. Thank you very much. And it goes on to thank me a bit more, but that's okay. So this person's come with 4 health problems, which they were taking medication for. It's all gone. 1 food test. Let me read one more.
Yeah, okay.
Quickly. I know we've got a lot to get in this program, but this person had nasal problems, depression and weight problems. I came to see you on the 18th of March 1996, suffering from chronic rhinitis, dripping of the nose, continually sneezing and depressed and very overweight. The rhinitis is cleared and I only occasionally sneeze. I am very well. No depression at all. The depression is gone. Completely.
That's fantastic, yes.
And the bonus is I have lost 21 pounds in weight. I cannot thank you enough for your help and will definitely have my next scan in a year's time. It's like a car. You tune yourself up once a year and you stay running properly. Or you can wait for problems and then you can be tuned up. It makes sense to have a tune-up once a year. The last thing she says here, my energy level is great. I have started to redecorate my bedroom. And she said, not bad for a 66-year-old.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that lovely?
That's nice, yes. Okay, we have a fax from Dubai, from Luma, about hyperactivity in children. It says, I am the mother of a hyperactive 7-year-old son. The doctors put him on Ritalin medication, and it has made him worse instead of better. I love my son so much, and it breaks my heart to see him like this. If you can help us, I will be very grateful. Thank you, Luma.
Hyperactivity. We've allowed a little bit more time for this particular one because
Yes.
I'm sure there's lots of people out there with hyperactive children. You can be hyperactive at any age, but it tends to show more as a child because children are generally running around anyway. And if they're a bit more, then it can become a bit of a nuisance. You know? And you begin to wonder why. Hyperactivity is probably one of the most treated conditions, I suppose, in terms of children anyway, around the world. Certainly research, money spent on it is frightening. Figures, it's just unbelievable what money is wasted on this particular health problem. It's so easy to deal with. I've cured hyperactivity. In fact, I've been sent hyperactive children from hospitals to cure them because they know what I do works. And I've cured several hundreds of children with hyperactivity over the years.
I see.
And again, if I stop to check it, probably thousands.
Oh, that's fantastic, yes.
You can become hyperactive just by drinking a bottle of whiskey, but you can become hyperactive by eating tomatoes or cucumber or anything that your brain doesn't want.
Exactly.
It's your brain's way of saying it's got a problem.
Exactly.
And hyperactivity is just one of those. So basically, the condition is known as A.D.H.D, Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. That's the name of the condition, and that's the diagnosis that you'll be given, A.D.H.D. And would you believe it's actually treated as a mental disorder? A mental disorder in the medical world. It's considered to be a mental problem. It's unbelievable how to get these categories, how to get these things categorized. Somebody with severe hyperactivity could end up in a mental hospital. It could be sectioned and put into a mental hospital. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And nobody looks for the cause of the problem. It's just frightening. In fact, I'll take you through the treatment and how they actually cause major problems to these kids with the medication in a moment. Let me read a couple more letters. This one is from a hyperactive 11-year-old lad, little boy. He's written the letter himself. He came to me. He says, hello, it's Paul. He says, from Cleethorpes, a part of England. I am writing to say that the tests are working very well. They are working in lots of different areas of my life. At school with maths and English and science and reading. He said, and my behaviour is better in all these subjects, and I can now concentrate a lot more than I ever could before. All my grades have gone up. I'm more popular at school with the kids and the teachers. It's making me feel a lot better than before when I was getting shouted at by my parents and the staff at school. He says, my life is a lot easier now, so let's cut it short. What I am trying to say and writing it to say is a big thank you in capital letters. 11-year-old lad. Isn't that lovely?
Nice. Very nice.
That's just one example of so many cases where hyperactivity has been cured by a food intolerance test at HealthScan. Another one, very important subject this, and I'm sure most of you will be very interested in this particular fact because, you know, we all have children. Most of us do, and this can be a big problem, not just for the kids, but for you, the parents. Hyperactivity, stomach problems, concentration, and this child is only 5 years old. I brought my 5-year-old son to see you at the beginning of February to be tested for food allergies, food intolerance, and I'm now writing to let you know how he is progressing. For about 18 months previous to our visit, Alexander had been suffering from tummy aches and other digestive complaints, which quite understandably made him miserable most of the time. On top of that, he was prone to very silly and noisy behaviour. So in addition to that, he was very boisterous, very noisy, and he had poor concentration. And he was always whinging. As she says, whinging, he could whinge for Britain. He was always moaning and groaning and not happy. As some days were worse than others, I felt sure it must be connected with his diet. Almost immediately, we eliminated the everyday foods you told us were unacceptable to Alexander's brain. Literally within 2 or 3 days, we noticed a vast improvement in his behaviour, and his tummy pains and bloatedness disappeared within days of starting this diet. Now 3 months down the line, whinging is a thing of the past. He has much more stamina, energy, and I feel that my happy, sunny child has been returned to me. Isn't that lovely? It has meant cutting out some favourites like chips and chocolate, but he readily accepts it, as he doesn't want to go back to these problems. The child has said, I don't want them. I don't want them. I now know what was causing the problem, and I don't want the problem. Thank you very much for providing us with the answer to a problem which had us at our wits' end. They were just distraught. They had nowhere to go. They didn't know what to do. A 5-year-old child. And this child had been treated at hospitals and specialists in the National Health Service for years. That's terrible. Now let's just go on to talk a bit more about this subject, because this is something that's quite close to my heart.
Yes.
The way they treat children for hyperactivity. In almost every case, the doctors at some stage will look at giving them Ritalin. Ritalin is probably the main drug that's provided by the doctors around the world. And this is a report from the Journal of the American Medical Association about Ritalin and its effects on the children. And by the way, there are 20,000 hyperactive children registered in Britain. 20,000 in Britain.
That's a lot.
So God knows how many there are around the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there are lots of children who are not registered, they're hyperactive, but the parents just have to live with it because they don't realise they can go somewhere or take them to the hospital and have something done. They don't consider it as an illness, they just think they've got a very active child. Yes. And the parents have to live with that situation. But these drugs, this drug called Ritalin is prescribed to these 20,000 registered children. And some of those children are as young as 2 years of age. Can you imagine having a 2-year-old, hyperactive 2-year-old, and they give them a drug called Ritalin, or any other drug for that matter? Terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds so.
Schools have refused to teach these children unless they're on the drug. So if your child is... This is a report from the Journal of the American Medical Association. Schools have refused to teach the children unless they're on Ritalin, because they're disruptive in the class. Okay? Remember that. School managers promote the use of Ritalin. They actually say, we want the children on this because we don't want them disrupting the class. But there's another reason too. They get a grant, a big grant, for every child that's on it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. They actually get
That's
paid for
impossible.
the children that go onto this drug. Can you believe that?
That's-
No. It just bears. I don't. I haven't got words for that one. I think you know
Yes,
the
it's-
school managers I'm talking about here. They should be shot for encouraging the use of such a drug. When you listen to what I'm going to say to you next, the side effects of this drug. Firstly, it's reported to be more addictive than cocaine. So once they're on it, it's
a
almost
drug.
impossible to get off it. It's
Oh.
more addictive than cocaine.
Unbelievable. Oh, it's-
And these are the poor children that are suffering, firstly, with hyperactivity, and they don't know why they're hyperactive. And then they're put onto a drug that makes them, well, I'll tell you what it makes them in a second, but they don't know what's going on. They're given these things, they wonder why they're different. They wonder why they have to be pulled and in this way sectioned out from the other children. It's terrible. The side effects, these drugs, Ritalin has been proven to cause, are hallucinations. So they begin to see things, crazy things, go
Yes.
mad in their head. you know.
Yes.
Suicidal tendencies. The children, in many cases, will want to commit suicide because of this drug called Ritalin. These are not my words. These are the words of the Journal of the American Medical Association.
This is scary.
The children actually want to commit suicide. Frightening thought. Derangement. Derangement. Derangement is a word that covers a lot of things. They can become very deranged and wander off and not know what they're doing and where they're doing it or how they're doing it. It sends the brain crazy. They become cabbages, basically. Zombie-like state. A zombie-like state is another word, another term that they've used in this report. The children become just like zombies. They don't know whether they're coming or going. And then they're certainly not going to be allowed to carry on at school in that condition, so then they get pushed to one side into a special school or a home of some sort for treating these children that their brains are not working properly. Isn't it
Yes,
terrible?
it's terrible.
And this is the drug
Terrible
called
thing.
Ritalin.
Terrible.
Long term, this drug has been linked with brain damage and cancer. And as I said at the beginning, this condition called hyperactivity is considered to be a mental illness by the medical profession. A mental illness.
Yes.
It's got nothing to do with any of it. It's the Ritalin that's making them worse. What they need to do is have a food scan, have a test, and take away the things that have caused them to be hyperactive in the first place. And then they become perfectly normal. It really is that simple. But you talk to your doctor or your hospital specialist and they'll just laugh at the situation or that suggestion. Well, let me have your son or your daughter and I'll prove it. Let me see, let me show you just how simple it is to cure them. And then let the doctors laugh at you.
My God, this is terrible thing to hear, Gerard. What's new about your book?
Well, in the last couple of
In
minutes,
few words,
we'll
yes.
have to just quickly skip over it. I've written a book all about my work, and basically it explains how you can be healthy, as we've been doing throughout this series. It looks at how doctors make a lot of money out of making people unhealthy, as well as trying to cure them. It looks at the people who control the doctors around the world, and it looks at how they make a lot of money too by keeping the situation as it is rather than trying to change anything. The hardest thing in the world is to change things, and the higher up you go in any organisation, the less you are allowed to make decisions, because you must leave it as it is. It's a special club you're in.
Yes.
It looks at what goes on behind the scenes in the medical world. It gives you lots of advice on being healthy. It shows you lots of letters, hundreds of letters that people have written to me, and explains how people have become healthy and how simple it is and how you could be healthy too. It's it's called, at the moment anyway, The Simple Drug-Free Way to Good Health. It's with the publishers at the moment, so the title might change. The Simple Drug-Free Way to Good Health.
We'll be looking forward to read that book. I think we have no time anymore. We have to say goodbye. This is our last program, the last of the 13 programs we have done, and hopefully we are planning to do some more in the near future. Thank you very much, Gerard, for coming and explaining all these very well, and thank you very much for the Andalus television to give us this opportunity to give our message out to the people.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'd like to say that too before we go. Thank you for the Andalus TV they know about the work, they know how successful it is, and they want you to be healthy. They need to get the message out to you. So you help them as they've helped us too. Everybody can help each other. Get the message out. Keep the emails coming and the phone calls and so on. And we'll be back. We'll be back.
We'll be back. Thank you. Thank you, Gerard.